It was for you, well, singing, feeling comfortable singing with another person in the room. What was it like to, well, to share your lyrics, your thoughts?
Absolutely, yeah, and the lyrics are intensely personal and intimate. And I think making music with someone is a very, very intense experience, and it was really enjoyable, and I never second-guessed it. And I think it's because we didn't probe one another too much about it. You know, we push each other in terms of, that sounds right, that makes sense, that's drawing something out of me, and we're constantly challenging one another, but there isn't a lot of, there's not a lot of analyzing, you know. I would never ask Max why he chose to write a certain chord progression or where that came from, and he would never pry about my lyrics. And I think what's interesting is now that we've started to talk about sort of what the songs mean to us, that wasn't apparent while we were writing them to one another, and I think they both sort of take on different meanings for each of us. But during that writing process, we sort of allowed each other to impose whatever emotions we wanted on it.
Do you actually know what she means with the lyrics, or is it just?
I think now.
On a lot of them, yeah, we've sort of had those conversations. But you know, I think musically too, I have very. You know, we get asked. The lyrics are sort of a more obvious maybe way of interpreting music, and but for me musically, I have really specific. It's very, very emotional as well, and I have a very specific sort of emotional state associated with every song, and that doesn't necessarily correspond with the lyrics. And I think that's what's really exciting about the way we work, because sometimes I'll write a track and I'll have this very specific emotion attached to it, and I can't really articulate that, and then it'll evoke some other emotion in Lizzy, and so it's cool that we have those two combined things then create some other whole. And I think that's why the tracks are so sort of cinematic and multidimensional, because we're both coming from different emotional places, and there's the way it overlaps is what becomes sort of the misterness of it all.
Is there one lyric that you say, well, that's one that really touches me? That's the one that you wrote.
Well, dig up the bones, but leave the soul alone was one of the ones that.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I thought the imagery was pretty incredible, and I thought it was dark and sort of brooding, but there's a romanticism to it that appealed to me.
Can you share what the song is about, or why you wrote it? Or?
Bones?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Bones is a very sort of dear track, because it's a nod to a very specific night in my life. And so I like to think that Bones was sort of bubbling inside of me and was sort of waiting for an opportunity to come out. And it was at a very sort of specific time in my life. I was 18, I was about to graduate high school and move to the States for the first time and enter university. And sort of an angsty time, and I was in a bit of turmoil about that sort of change, and I didn't feel ready for it, and I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all the pieces that were coming into play to sort of make that next step. And in a bit of a huff while studying for exam I think I had the next day, I sort of ran away from home for the evening and met up with a friend of mine, and we ended up, you know, getting high behind the Royal Albert Hall and climbing the sculptures and walking through graveyards, and we broke into a church, and we found ourselves at some person's party that we just walked into, and it was the most bizarre night of my life, potentially. And we were out all evening. It got to the point where we were up to like 5 in the morning. Our parents called the cops on us. And it was this great night because I think me and the person I was with, we were so overwhelmed by everything else that was happening in our lives, and that was such a free night where we could just be, I don't know, just escape a little bit and be as free as we wanted to.
Is this something that the music does to you now? The music that you make now?
I guess I've never really thought about it like that, but I guess that probably is true. I think it's definitely escape, and it is while performing, and it was while we were writing, you know. I mean, in the most literal sense, it was an escape in that it was around work. You know, I was sort of by day one person, and then by night or in the morning, I got to live out like my artistic dreams, and that's really special. And even now, being able to do this full time definitely feels like a little bit of a dream.